Hey, welcome back to Patty G DIY. What a difference our last project made. Hey, welcome back to Patty G DIY. Today's project is about finishing this drywall wall behind me. But before we get to that, I want to give you an update on our last project. We have paint on two of my office walls. Like I said in the last video, 90% of the work on painting this raw block wall was in the prep. And it seems like that hard work has paid off. I think it turned out great. You can see the block, you can see some of the leftover character, and this is just the look I was going for. What do you think? Do you like this color? I wasn't too sure about this color, but it's been a week since we painted, and it has grown on me. As you may recall, if you watched episode number 2 in this Office Makeover Series, when I started coating the walls with primer, I was forcing the primer into every pore. I was applying heavy pressure on the roller, really trying to get this wall coated 100%. But look at this. I still miss some spots. I guess it's time to get out the artist brushes and see if we can't cover those up. Typically I wouldn't worry about that, but it's right here on my desk and it'll drive me nuts till I get it fixed. Enough about the past. What are we going to do in this episode? I'm going to show you how to finish drywall on this wall right over here. Once again, all the work is in the preparation and preparing the wall correctly for the 3 coats of mud. That's right, 3 coats. And it's going to really increase your chances of a successful, professional looking project. So let's talk about these 3 coats of mud. First coat is called the tape coat. And that's the coat that you put on the wall as you're applying the tape. You start by filling all the cracks, the joints, underneath where you're going to put the tape. And really you only have to go about this wide off the joint. You want to minimize the use of this mud. You want to cover fully when you put the mud on, but no more. All that extra mud makes for extra work, extra sanding, and extra time. Now the mud has to dry, and it takes about 12 to 14 hours, depending on how much you put on. So if you put on less mud, less thickness of mud, it's going to dry faster and your project will get done faster. Remember, 3 coats. The second coat is called the coat coat. That's what I call it. Now that's where you go back and you smooth out the imperfections in your first mud coat. You fill all the holes, the nail holes, all the joints again, and you recoat everything. Now this time you want to go out a little wider. First coat about 8 inches, next coat 10, something like that. So if you have some bad ripples or peaks in the drywall, you can sand between these coats. But if you're really careful, you can get all that stuff done before the next coat, and your sanding job is a lot easier. I'm all for easy, man. I'm the easy button man. Last coat is called the top coat or the finish coat. You go out a little bit wider. That's where I'm going to use my 12-inch knife. Now each time, so this is the surface of the drywall. First is a tape, and then we're going to build up a little bit and out a little wider, and then the last coat we're going to build up a little bit and go a little wider. And you know, if you're careful when you apply the mud, don't overdo it. These 3 layers are going to be more than enough. When I first started doing drywall, it took forever and I hated it because I just didn't have the experience with it. Use the least amount of mud you can to minimize the sanding that you have to do, which is extremely messy, by the way. First, cover the tape. Next, coat the joints. And next, finish it. And if you stay within those parameters, you'll do good. Okay, so here's what you're going to need. You'll need some drywall tape. This is the plain paper tape. It's got a built-in crease in it for corners. You're going to need some joint compound. You're going to need something to stir the joint compound, and a tray. A tray like this works great. Any kind of mortar type stuff, you can hold it in your hand and do what you need to do. You're also going to need an assortment of drywall knives. Now, I said you need these. You really won't. You can do it all with one. About any of these will do. But to get the best smoothing and transition off of your joints, I'm using I've got a 4, I probably won't use it. I'm using an 8, a 10, and a 12-inch drywall knife. You can do this whole thing with either of these, but having an assortment makes it go a little bit faster. Alright, let's get started. Here's a section that needs quite a bit of work. One of the first things I like to check for are screws like this. This one's high. This one's sticking up. You just take your screwdriver and just go ahead and drive that thing in. The drywall installer did not have his set right. The drywall installer would be me. Now, you do not want these screws to tear through like this one did and this one did. You want to stop these things just shy of the surface. That's a good example right there. These frayed edges like this, there's 2 ways to deal with that. You can take a razor knife and slip that off right there. Just cut that down through there and get rid of this frayed area. Or you can take like the butt of your knife and press that edge back below the surface of the finished product. Get all that loose stuff out of there. And if you end up with a large hole, you can cut a drywall patch to go in there. I think that'll do nicely. Okay, good morning. It's another day. This is dried overnight, and we got some peaks we're going to take off. I hope this shows up right here. Of course, we'll smooth the edges, and so we'll take and add another layer, smooth it out to the to the wall, build it up a little bit, and smooth it out. But I will show you how to fix, where's it at? Right here. That's really not bad. But I'll show you how to fix it anyway. So, before you get started, one important thing, don't forget your dust mask. This is very important. This dust that comes off of this is basically ground rock. It's ground gypsum. And when it gets into your lungs, I mean, who knows? I don't know what it does in there, but it can't be good for you. It may turn into concrete for all I know. So anyway, safety first. So see this brown spot, this brown stripe right here? I've scraped that with the mud knife and it's gotten fuzzy. This fuzzy is really hard to cover up, so the best fix for that is just to pull this tape off and then fill that hole with the next layer. Now, one of the techniques I like to do is take a putty knife and go over the first coat. This will knock the high ridges off and make sanding a lot easier. Alright, now that we're sanding, we don't want to sand this tape. We don't want to burn through it with a sanding pad. I'm just trying to knock these points off. So the mud I got is a dust controlling mud, and it's supposed to lessen the amount of dust when you sand. So that's probably a good thing also. Okay, now this stuff still needs to be mixed. In this case, where I'm just doing this one wall, I'm going to dip it out of the bucket and put it in my pan and mix it in the pan. If you're applying the mud and you see voids or bubbles in it, that means it's not mixed well enough. Okay, what I'm going to do, it's my knife, is I'm going to press on this upper side and I'm going to float the other side up off of the mud. It's going to look something like this. Now I'm trying to hit the center line right here of that tape. And it looks something like this. And when you do that, you want your trowel to be flat. You can make one more pass and see where you missed. So here's where I cut out the piece of patch that I burned through. Just going to fill that right there. And I'm going to continue doing what we were doing. You see the bubbles in my mud right here? You know what that means? I didn't mix it good enough. Okay, here we are. Day 3, the third coat. Doesn't look too bad. I'm going to knock the high spots off and put the last layer on, and then we'll have one more sanding and we can prime and paint. Spoiler alert. So what I was doing in this last segment was using a microfiber towel to tack to get up all the loose particles off the wall so that when I go to paint, that get a little better finish maybe. And you can also use a microfiber towel to find sand, the transition between the mud and the actual drywall. One other thing, when you finish this, especially the last couple of coats, if you take a light, these camera lights work great, and shine it down kind of parallel to the surface, you'll see all the imperfections that you would normally miss. So yeah, use that light. Okay, last big push. Last night I got the primer on the wall. This morning I'm going to put the paint on it, and then I'm going to work. Oh, that is beautiful. There it is. Another project in the bag. If we keep up at this pace, we're going to run out of projects. So we got the paint on the walls, and if you look back in this corner, I just want to point this out. No, I am not a Miami Dolphins fan. So next up on Patty G DIY, I'm not sure. I want to get the electrical done, and that's going to take some doing to prepare for that. So, because I'm still trying to use this office. Can you see this at all? Look at that. Oh gosh, it's everywhere. So I think the first thing on my list is going to be a good and thorough cleaning. That would make me happy, I think. Now I know this was a long video, but there's a lot of information in here. I showed you very little actual technique. It's not hard, you can figure that out. But I wanted to convey the information. So I talk a lot throughout this whole video, and if you're still listening at this point, I appreciate it. I really do. And you guys have been awesome. Thank you very much for your comments. Do all that YouTube stuff. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, comment, etc., etc., etc. When you do, YouTube notices and they promote my channel. So thank you very much. God bless. And we'll see what's going to happen next. We have progress. Hallelujah.